Hello YouTube and welcome back to the life of a virtual airline pilot. I'm your host as always, Captain Mac, and we got an exciting day planned for you today because we're going to do our first flight in the mission that we've gone ahead and signed up for. So if you haven't been following along, go back a little ways. I don't remember if it was the first episode of this season or the last episode of last season, but we knew we were going to be flying these CRJs, so we went ahead and plotted our route up to Seattle to start a mission for Horizon Air, which is going to take us all over, mostly through Canada, northern U.S., some flights down into California and other places like that. There's a lot of flights on here. Best part about it, when we're all done and we turn everything in and we get credit for it, we get an additional bonus of 10 hours on top of all the flight hours. So we got 76 hours to go. Let's just say when we're all said and done, we've got 20 hours to go. Just throwing a number out there. We'll get those bonus hours, and then we've only got 10 more hours to go until we get that promotion to captain. And when we get to captain, let me tell you, that's when the fun's really going to begin, folks. So really excited about that. All right, enough about that. Let's go and take a quick look at our flight here. We're not going to do a whole lot of time briefing it here because I do have that awesome little graphic that I've been sticking up there now. I'm going to keep using that, and that's going to give you a little more information about the flight route and stuff like that and make things a little bit quicker, a little bit easier for us. All right, had to take in a breath there. So it is Horizon Air still. We are flying a CRJ 700 again. Departure time is 21:45 and the arrival time is 23:15. You do the math. I'm not going to right now. It'll be on the graphic. Good times. Distance of 392 miles. We got 69 packs booked for the flight, and all is well in the world. So we are using our active sky. We're going to pull our weather from there, and that's going to guide where we go as far as runways are concerned and all of that good stuff. So without further ado, what do you say we go ahead and hop on into the aircraft and start the fun stuff? And welcome aboard, ladies and germs. It only seems appropriate, since we are flying out of Washington, that we fly a paint scheme or livery that represents the Washington area. So we're going to be flying this beautiful Washington State University repaint of the default CRJ 700. I do want to make a note here. The weather right now, wind is 230 at 10 knots, and the altimeter is 299.7, which means we're going to be taking runway 34 right, which is, I don't know why it won't spin all the way around that way, over there. Why do I bring that up? Because if you're looking, you probably just saw there's a Southwest plane right there. There's another plane there, and they're going to go and take the other runway. God bless default FSX AI traffic. It's awesome, isn't it? Something I haven't shown you in the past. I'm going to pop it up here real quick. Yeah, let's take a look here real quick. This program right here, I will try to remember to find it for you. Air Traffic Manager program is a freeware program. You can see I've put my flight plan in and it popped in after a second there, and then you can set the max number of aircraft that you want in the area. And then I always set it to preserve airport traffic, so it won't get rid of these guys right here. By doing this, I can have my my traffic cranked all the way up, and I'll never have more than 40 aircraft, so it doesn't mess with my frame rates, right? So I can just start optimize, shrink it down, leave it running, and forget about it, and it's good to go. Easy as that. Awesome program. I'll try to remember to put a link down in the show notes there. Love this thing because you can fly into JFK and stuff like that, and you just crank your traffic up, use whatever AI traffic program you're using, but you set that to whatever is optimal for your setting. So for me, between 40 and 50 aircraft is optimal, and that means no matter where I'm flying, it deletes aircraft that it doesn't need to have in the area, and it only allows, like right now, I set it to 40. So there won't be any more than 40 aircraft flying around the area at one time, and it's not going to hurt my frame rates any. Fantastic, right? Okay, as far as flight information is concerned, as I said, we're taking runway 34 right for our departure. There's your graphic down there. That'll give you the information on the route that we're going to be taking, how high we're going to be flying, and how far we're going. All good stuff. Take just a moment here. You can look at that while we scan around and take a look at our beautiful CRJ 700. Absolutely love these airplanes. These things are just beautiful, right? I like that I can fly around with this Easy Dock camera. It's always a good time. Yeah, love the CRJ 700's beautiful, sleek airplane. I'm looking forward to these flights. We tried so hard with that Wilco Next Gen, and you know what, like I said in the last video, I'm just done with that thing. I'm not dealing with it anymore. Really looking forward to Aerosoft putting one out. They make wonderful aircraft, but they've been saying for a long time it's coming out, and I don't know when that's going to happen. So we're stuck with the default for now, but as far as default aircraft go, this one's not all that bad. It's got your same default functions you'd expect. Doesn't have an FMS and all that good stuff, but we're going to deal with it. All right, enough talky talk. Let's hop on in here and get this show on the road. And that was the wrong button. What on earth is going on here? What is that? Look at it. There's an Emirates 777 there. We're in the air. Oh, now we're on the ground. What did I do? I just want to see something. Let's go up here real quick. Is there an Emirates 777 over here somewhere? Look at that. There she is right there. It had them all up in the air. Okay. Not sure why that happened, folks. You know what? I'm not going to apologize for that. That was funny. FSX is a weird program sometimes, man. Okay, so a little over 7,000 pounds of fuel already loaded on board. APU is running at this time, so it's burning a little bit of that fuel, so we do want to get started. You can see I've already gone ahead and set the altimeter to 29907. You do that with the little knob down here. It's kind of hidden by the yoke right now. We changed our nav source using this right here to GPS because that's what we're obviously going to have to be flying on this. When in doubt, if you're unsure, hit the F10 button. It is a default aircraft, even though it's staring straight at the ground. You can switch nav GPS right here, and you can change your altimeter right here. We're not using track IR today. No particular reason other than I just don't want to put my little hat on under my headset. Good enough reason, right? We've already set our altitude to flight level 350 because that's where we're going to. And what else? I'm getting a little chop on my mouse there for some reason. That was kind of weird. Let's put that back to primaries there. I think we're pretty much good to go. We'll set our runway heading once we're lined up on the runway. That's always a good plan, and we will brief the departure as we begin our taxi. So all that being said, what we need to do right now, pop up our ACARS here. You can see I've already loaded the flight in there. I have not loaded the route because I'd like to take the opportunity to show that to you guys. So one thing you can do here real quick, you see that it says the load is 53, right? Well, the number of passengers we actually fly determines our profit. So sometimes you hit refresh load. Oh, look at that. We got 59 now. Fantastic. Hit it again. It might be lower. I usually hit it a few times, figure out whatever the highest number it's going to give me is, and then keep seeking until I get that number, and there we go. Grab a previous route here. Once again, as always, we do not have to fly this route. This is just for this flight map here. We won't be flying that route, not quite anyway. We still have to go up to setup flight, even though the route gets put in there as well. We're going to scroll this to flight level 350. There we go. We're all set. Now you can see the start flight button has been highlighted. Start flight. We do have the proper aircraft. It's just a difference in the title for the model. No big deal. We'll accept that, and now it puts us into the boarding mode. And I forgot to mention it. I did it already, but our current location, Seattle. Our departure airport, Seattle. We're good to go off to Calgary. Let's get that out of the way. And that means we can do what? That means we can push back, right? So let me hit a button here, back over here, and well, let's get going with our ground services here. Pushback and departure. In a lot of ways, Alaska Airlines, by the way, is the parent company of Horizon Air. So we'll use Alaska Airlines. And 3-4 right is to our right, so we want the nose to go to the right and the tail to the left. They'll roll on up to do that. You know, it's a lot easier to get everything started up with a default aircraft because there's just not as much to do, right? I mean, we can only do so many things. We're not programming an FMC and stuff like that. So, but I like the complexity of aircraft that require you to do all the extra work. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that when we make it to captain. Or if for some reason, oh yeah, we need to close that door, don't we? Let's move the jetway. Close the door. If Aerosoft does put out their CRJ before we finish this, we'll definitely grab that. As long as I have some money, we'll grab that and do some flights with that because I'm looking forward to it. Let's make sure a couple things here. Passenger signs are in the on position. That's the auto. I don't know, is that off, on? Let's put them down in the auto position. What else? We need to make sure our beacons are on. All of these are off right now. Taxi lights, everything. Beacon lights are on, so we're good to go there. APU is running. Generators 1 and 2 are off. Battery is on. APU generator is on. None of these work over here, so we can't do anything with them anyway. We can use anti-ice though.
Release parking brakes.
And we'll just use the period key. We should get it. There's our 8 cars notice right there. Passenger loading is completed. And let the pushback commence. Now we actually have a pretty long pushback on this. They're going to push us, as you can see, nose to the left, tail to the right, which is always kind of funky with GSX. But once they get us lined up back here a little bit, then they're going to push us back for quite a ways there before making that turn, before pointing our nose to the right over there. I really can't talk today. You know, it's something about videos, guys. I'm going to tell you, I get on here to start doing videos, and all of a sudden I can't talk because, yeah, ask anybody who knows me, I wouldn't say I could have a conversation. I just talk a lot. But then I get on here and I can't figure out how to talk all of a sudden. It's kind of silly. Anyway, so I was stalling there because I wanted to take a minute before starting the engines because I don't want to have them running for 5 minutes while we push back, right? So to start the engines on this default aircraft, APU is going, the bleed stays on auto, continuous ignition goes on, and then we're going to start with the right engine. So we're just going to click the start button here. And she immediately starts spooling up, unlike your regular aircraft, not your regular aircraft, but unlike your actual complex aircraft that require you to make sure everything's set up properly. This one just starts going, and it will auto start at this point. So that hits 20, and then it just auto starts. The fuel turns itself on, and everything. It's just the way it is. Not sure why they said it that way, but yeah, okay, whatever. It starts the engines. It's good to go. So we'll let the engine stabilize for just a second here. And as it does that, we'll get ready to flip that right generator on. We might as well. I'm looking at my EFB on the screen, on my other screen here, and as we're being pushed back, there's actually an airplane taxiing behind us. Let's hop out. Yeah, there's a Virgin America plane there. Hope that wasn't too loud for you. I know sometimes it's really loud when you hop outside. I just wanted to make sure they weren't going to push us into that Virgin America plane there. So let's hop back inside. We're already looking at our overhead here. Right generator can come on. There it is. And we can roll right into starting the left engine. Push the button. And it's going to do everything else on its own. Which, yeah, that's fine. That's great. I kind of prefer, I prefer to do it. I wish I had to go through the motions. But I guess at the same time, since we don't actually have a checklist yet, which I really need to get one. I keep saying that and saying that and saying that, and I've never gotten one. Because I keep forgetting. So if you know where I can get a CRJ checklist, a good one for a CRJ 700, do me a favor, drop me a line and let me know. I'll pick up the checklist, and that way I can at least try to follow the thing. You know, that's something, right? While that engine's stabilizing, let's bring the flaps down a little bit because we're going to be needing them when we get ready to take off. It's going to be a flaps 20 takeoff. And those are coming in now. We can flip on that left generator. Good to go there. Everything's running good now. The engines are stabilized. So let's go ahead and stop the APU. It'll take just a second. And then once it does, we'll turn off the APU generator. There we go. APU generator off. And just in case you didn't notice, I had the microphone away from my mouth for just a minute there. So we're good to go on that. Let's see. As we're getting ready to line up here, we'll do lights and all that stuff in a second. We've got our speed set for 240 knots until we get above 10,000 feet, so we're good to go there. Flight director can come on at this point. Yaw damper can come on at this point. And other than that, we're not going to press anything except to set the parking brakes. Because for some reason, with the default aircraft, if I turn on anything for the autopilot, sometimes it'll flip the autopilot itself on. And then the aircraft will try to take off down there, and that's just going to be a pain in the butt. I don't want to do that. So let's see. Parking brakes are off. These guys are annoying me because they're so slow, so I'm turning taxi lights on now, and hopefully that'll speed them up. Apparently not, because they're still taking their time. Let's see what else. We already messed with our trim a little bit. You can check on that just by going here. We'll click that up just so you can see it. So here's your stabilator here, so when you adjust your trim, it moves that thing. I probably have it way too high because we're really light. We can scroll up through this. There's our fuel, 7,759 pounds. There's our fuel flow. Looks like, I guess this graphic doesn't actually do anything because our engines are running, and so those things should be turned to show the fuel flowing properly. And let's see, let's do our flight control. Does it show them? There's the ailerons, full left, full right, full up, full down. I need to adjust the sensitivity on these. Rudders full right, full left. We're good to go there. Back over to our primary. And let's get this show on the road because we've been talking for a while, haven't we? So let's go ahead and taxi out, and while we're doing that, let's go ahead and take care of that departure briefing. So it's going to be runway 34 right for us today, and as you can see here, we'll be taking the Comore 3 departure, and we won't actually be flying the entire departure route. For our purposes, we're headed to the northeast here, and this departure route takes you all the way over to Blewett, and we're not going to be going that far. We will probably go here to Comore, or Comore, however you say it. I'm going to go with Comore. Probably go here to Comore, and then we'll take it direct to our next waypoint there. And that's not that uncommon either. Even if we were using ATC, there's a good chance we could get a direct to our next waypoint from any one of these along here, providing it wasn't really busy in the airspace and traffic would allow for it. So not a whole lot of information to cover here. Basically, we just want to take a look. We want to understand the route, where the waypoints are. So at Whirl here, we need to be at 3,100 feet or above. It doesn't give any altitude restrictions at Atome or Senex or KTSAP. Okay, KTSAP. We do need to be at or above 10,000 feet when we get to Zuvin, and then on up from there. And of course, these are all at or above, so it doesn't matter if we're higher than them. We just can't be lower. We do have this little note here, says for the initial climb, see the inset, and then it breaks it down over here. So we'll be climbing out at 343 degrees until we reach Whirl, and from there we'll continue on the rest of the departure here. So yay, good times. So that's pretty much it for the departure briefing. Nothing really of note for this particular departure. There aren't any major what's the word here, because my brain doesn't want to function. No noise abatement procedures or anything like that. The only thing of concern that we need to watch on our departure is that Boeing field is straight ahead of us. You can see it right here, and we just want to keep an eye on that, make sure there aren't any aircraft departing out of Boeing field, because we're not using ATC. Of course, if we were using ATC, we would expect ATC to help coordinate that. Doesn't mean you don't look though, right? Okay. Enough about that. There's the departure, so let's get this bird up in the air. Alright, so with our departure briefing already taken care of, last minute checks here. Let's see, we're getting ready to pull onto the runway, so we want to make sure landing lights are coming on. Speed is set, altitude is set, flaps are set, trim is set, everything is set with the exception of the runway heading, which we will be turning on here, or we will be setting here momentarily. Let me just get lined up on the runway, slow it down just a little, we're going a little quick there. And that'll do right there. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Come on, guys, that was a little funny. Nothing, right? Crickets. I got crickets on that, I guarantee it. Okay, overshot it just a little bit. That's all right. Come on, line up for Papa. All right, there we go. 345. Let's rotate that heading just a little bit. There we go. All right, so the heading is set. Everything is set. All we need to do is throw in some throttle and get this bird in the air. So let's get her started here. Alright, airspeed's alive at this time. Try and keep this thing in the center of the runway. That can be a struggle occasionally, can't it? Looking good. Our rotate speed's going to be about 140 knots, which is probably a little faster than it needs to be. There's 100 knots right there. Getting just a little pull to the left from that crosswind. And you can see she rotates on her own. So 140 was probably pretty good. Positive rate of climb, gear up. Bring that trim, brought that trim down just a little bit, and as we start to climb out here, we're going to climb out straight ahead for the moment. And back those throttles back just a little bit. If you had a proper auto throttle system, it would do that for you. We don't have that, so we're going to do it manually. We don't want to go over 240, so we're just watching our speed there. Everything's looking good so far. And we're climbing through 2,000 feet here, so let's go ahead and engage that autopilot now. This airplane, for me, is a little difficult to hand fly because of the way it reacts. Make sure we get that altitude on and throw the nav in there. And we're good to go. So it's climbing, what, 1,500 feet per minute right now? Let's put that up. There's 18. We can definitely go higher than that. Come on, get up there. There we go, 2,000. We can go up 2,500 feet per minute for now. What else? After takeoff checklist at this point, flaps can definitely start coming up. Probably could have done that a little bit sooner. So let's bring the flaps all the way up. Gear is already up at this point. Primary things we want to do is set our climb speed, which we're doing based on our vertical speed. And bring those flaps all the way up. So climb speed is set based on the vertical speed. Flaps are up at this point. Lights remain on until we go above 10,000 feet. So that's pretty much our after takeoff checklist. So which gives us what? Climb checklist. We would set climb power. And again, we're going to use the vertical speed to make adjustments to climb power. Once we get over 10,000 feet, we'll go ahead and increase our speed. And that's pretty much it. Monitoring our instruments until we get up to top of climb. This is a relatively long departure here. It takes us pretty much way out and around over the bay here. Beautiful view, I'm sure. Let's take a look. Ah, indeed it is. It's a lovely view. I did pick up Orbic's Open Land Class North America, so that covers all of Canada and Alaska. So as we fly into Canada here, we should see some really good terrain. Looking forward to that, and I hope that you are too. So let's go ahead and continue the climb, and I will be seeing you guys at cruise altitude. Okay, here we are at flight level 350. A little bit of cloud cover below us there, looking pretty nice. Still don't have a checklist, of course. It sounds funny when I say it like that. At least to me it does. But typical cruise checklist. Obviously, we want to set our cruise power, which we have. We're going to fly at Mach 0.80 all the way. Get there as quick as we can, as long as we don't run out of fuel. Wind conditions should be off the left side for most of the flight, and maybe a little bit of tailwind as we get closer to arrival, so that's good. Other than that, we're just going to monitor our engine instruments and make sure that everything remains good to go. That's pretty typical checklist anyway, right, for a cruise. So there you have it. There's your cruise checklist. Hope you enjoyed it. It was a good time. There's our little 2-minute blurb. And I will be seeing you guys again when we get actually a little before top of descent. We're going to have to take care of the arrival briefing. So now I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. We're going to brief the arrival and we're going to brief the approach, but the arrival, because of the way this default aircraft is set up, the arrival's not really programmed in there, so we're going to have to kind of hand fly it. It's going to be an interesting little adventure, but we're going to brief a proper arrival anyway, because we're trying to keep it as close to realistic as we can, right? So we'll brief the arrival when the time comes, and then top of descent, and then of course approach. So I'll be seeing you guys in a little bit. Okay, so due to the winds, we're going to be taking runway 35 left, I believe. Yep, 35 left is going to be our runway, and we're going to be coming in on the IGVEP arrival. IGVEP, I-G-V-E-P. That's our arrival for today. Now, I've gone ahead and clearly I've rotated the star chart here so that we can have a little bit better view, because we're approaching from the southwest out over here and then coming in and landing on a northerly runway, and with this thing rotated to the left it's kind of hard to see. So there we go. We'll be entering in on the feeder route that starts out here at Norit. And when we get to Amito here, we got to be at or above 14,000 feet. So we'll probably come in here around 16,000 feet and then descend through there. At Sedel, up here we need to be at or above 13,000 feet, and then that completes our feeder here into IGVEP, which is this waypoint right here. And since we're taking runway 35 left, when we get to IGVEP, we need to be at or below 13,000 feet. So from Sedel down to IGVEP, we want to make sure we pretty much maintain 13,000 feet. And the reason I say we want to maintain it is because when we get up here to Zujav, we need to be at or above 12,000 feet. So we don't want to be down here at 12,000 feet and then just it just kind of feels funky to me. I don't know. So we'll be right around 13,000 feet, maybe just below here. And then at Zujav at or above 12,000. And then at Ervug, these are some interesting names, by the way, we're going to be at or above 10,000 feet. And as we continue down here now, we're going to be on 35 left, which is over here. So we'll get up here to Vezga, and there's no altitude restriction here at Vezga, but there's a max speed limit of 220 knots. And then we should be hanging right here over to Meska, and by Meska at or above 7,500 feet, and then from there we should be turning on towards our final course here. And we'll go over that a little bit more when we brief the approach. We could also come up a little bit further here to Nabon and then on up to Avtis, but these particular routes are intended for other things. So for example, it should say on here, so this is intended for runway 29, this route here, and you can see right here this route through Meska and then Dep2. There's some really interesting names. This one's intended for runway 35 left or right, which is what we're taking. Now, at our little CRJ, we probably won't need to make this right turn here, but we'll make that determination here in a little bit. So that is the arrival breathing, right? That's the arrival briefing. Things to consider. We've got a lot of mountainous terrain over here that we're going to be coming over. A lot of high altitudes. The highest altitude in the area is 11,069 feet. Something to keep in mind, at least along our route. So we just want to make sure that we're watching our altitudes. We don't want to be below the minimum altitudes as we come in on this route here. And then, of course, if there's AI traffic in the area, which there may or may not be, we want to keep an eye out for AI traffic coming in on this feeder route here, since both of the routes meet here at IGVEP or IGVEP. Let's go with IGVEP. That's fun. Since they both meet here, we want to make sure that if we do see an aircraft, because you can see it's 13,200 feet here at Tulab, but then if they're taking the same runway as us, then they have the same restriction at IGVEP as we do, which is at or below 13,000. So we need to keep an eye for traffic coming in here since we're not using ATC. And I think that's about it. Yep. Other than, as always for the Lido charts, our frequencies are in the green box. We're not going to be using them because we're not using ATC today, but eventually we are going to get an ATC program and start using it. So I just want to get in the habit of checking our frequencies here. So our ATIS, that's our Automated Terminal Information System. That's going to give us our weather. That's right here. And then these are the different arrival frequencies. We are arriving from the west, so we would be on the frequency with the little W next to it, 123.850. That's who we would contact, or what frequency we would contact arrival on. So there it is. That's our arrival. Let's go ahead and press on forward, and we will be doing the approach briefing here pretty soon. Alright, ladies and germs, coming up on top of descent here very shortly. I think I mentioned it already. We have an issue with getting the waypoints programmed into well, we don't have an FMS, we don't have an FMC, so basically we're kind of winging it as we go here, but we're still going to try and fly our approach here. We are coming from the proper direction, and I have set our GPS to fly direct from our current point to IGVEP. That's what we're going with on that. So at IGVEP, we want to make sure we're at or below 13,000 feet. So as far as our descent briefing is concerned here. My brain is not working. Let's see. We're going to need to monitor our speed, monitor our instruments, and obviously monitor our rate of descent so that we're not reaching IGVEP at an altitude too low. We want to be at or below 13,000 feet, but at the next waypoint, Zugav, we want to be at or above 12,000 feet, so we don't want to overshoot, right? So that being said, let's go ahead and begin our descent at this point, and let's set it for 13,000 feet to begin with. Bring it on down. There's 13,000 feet. Our speed's good at the moment. And you see, oh, did you see that? Our speed just disappeared. Let me tell you what that is. That is icing conditions. So first thing I want to do is I want to turn my speed hold off and pull those throttles way back, not too far. And then let's hop to the overhead real quick and let's flip our anti-ice on. Structural, well, everything came on at once. So there you go. And that includes our probe. So it shouldn't take but just a minute, and then we'll see that speed will kick back in. So we need to keep an eye on our aircraft as far as the attitude it's flying at. If the nose starts to rise really high, that means we're getting too slow. But we want to keep our throttles down nice and low, and that way we don't overspeed the aircraft, because when it kicks back in, it's going to suddenly show the speed, and then it can say that we're overspeeding, and we don't want that, obviously. So let's stick it out here together for just a minute and see. Just so that you guys see that. It's good for you guys to see that if you haven't ever dealt with it. You don't always know when you're in icing conditions. That's true in the real world too. Now you do know when you should be in icing conditions. I mean, we're at minus 44 degrees Celsius. So there's the potential for icing conditions, and then you can see there's some clouds around, which means there's definitely some extra moisture in the air. So the potential was obviously there anyway. In the real world, you can check on your aircraft. Some aircraft have warning systems for icing conditions. So I'm not saying, don't misunderstand me, I'm not saying, oh, you just don't know and you got to guess. No, there is a way to figure it out, but this is FSX. We're limited in some of our information. Our weather doesn't always translate properly, and so I don't really mess around with it too much. Basically what I do is, if I run into icing conditions and I have an issue like that, you can see it's showing 0. That's because our pitot tubes are frozen. Then we go ahead and we flip on the anti-ice. There are a few aircraft out there, like that beautiful King Air 200 I was flying. I've shown it a few times, where it will actually show buildup on the wings, and so that's pretty cool there as well. But anyway, enough about that. I'm hoping it'll pop on here, because I don't want to sit here and bump my gums for too terribly long. But yeah, it's not popping back in at the moment, so I don't know. We'll see what happens here. I can only talk for so long, right? Yeah, hoping that pops back on here shortly so that you guys can see it, but it doesn't look like it's going to. And I'm not going to sit here and just make up conversation for the next 20 minutes, because my wife is currently writing on a notepad that dinner's ready, which means I need to probably go eat dinner. So that being said, it didn't pop back on, but it will. So by the time we get into the approach, you should see that our speed has popped back up on there, because we now have our anti-ice turned on. So we'll see you at the hold on, gotta make the brain function. We'll see you at the approach briefing. The approach briefing then, please. We will be taking runway 35 left via the ILS. The ILS frequency is 111.50, and the identifier is India Yankee Charlie. We got all that information right there in the box. We mentioned the right turn from Vesga on our arrival from Vesga to Meska, and then we said we probably wouldn't make that right turn at Meska, but instead we would go from there direct to our next waypoint, or our first waypoint on the approach, which in this case is going to be Gabol. And I'm still absolutely loving the names of these waypoints. They're fantastic. So it'll be to Gabol, which is our initial approach fix right here. We need to be at or above 6,500 feet MSL. And let's see, as we move forward here, we've got Uktap. That's an interesting name as well. No restriction on altitude there. Now let's take a quick look here. The it's down here, sorry. The elevation of the airport is 3,606 feet, so it's up pretty high. So when we're at 6,500 feet, we're actually just a skosh under 3,000 feet above the ground. So something to keep in mind, and of course we could take a glance here too. It tells us 6,500 feet is minimum safe altitude in this area. So that being said, 6,500 feet from Gabble, and we will probably maintain that. Let's take a look here. Okay, so this is the point where we intercept our ILS, and for the life of me, it has completely slipped my brain here. I think I have it written down over here. Hold on, wait. Let me see if I can find it real quick. It'll probably take too long to find it. You can hear me shuffling papers. I can't remember what the P stands for. I know it can be an F or a P there, but it has slipped my mind, and I put it in my... I need to watch my own tutorial now, don't I? I put it in my reading approach charts tutorial, and now my brain has completely forgotten what it means. And even though it has, I've got all that stuff over here, and I just wanted to say it right. That's all. Where is it at? There we go. It's number 4 here. My apologies. You know what? I'm not going to apologize. Suck it up. It's the final approach point. So it can be a final approach fix, which would be an F, right? So in this case, this is the final approach fix, and you can have your final approach point, right? So what's the difference? I don't really know, to be honest with you. But if they're both at the same place, it'll always be the P. If they're not, then you'll have an F and a P there. So final approach point is right there at 9.3 miles from the ILS beacon itself. So that's where we want to intercept our ILS, and that's at 6,500, and that should put us on our 3-degree glide slope here. So way back here, even though it shows the feather up here, it's actually back here is where we're intercepting the ILS, and hopefully by the time we get there, we'll be at 6,500. We'll be moving at 345 degrees. We'll intercept the ILS, and we'll onto the glide slope we go, and we'll be as right as rain. So we've talked about this information in the past. 3-degree glide slope. There is no gradient change in the touchdown zone, but the runway overall has an increased grade from this end to this end of 0.1%. So we're landing uphill. That's always nice. And when we're 2 miles from IYC, that is, again, that's our actual ILS, India Yankee Charlie. At 2 miles out, we should be at 4,190 feet, but we should be on the glide slope and be good to go. For the missed approach, if we have to perform a missed approach, we will climb at heading 345 degrees up to 4,100 feet, and then a left turn to heading 315 degrees, intercepting radial 297 from Yankee Charlie to Rexub, climb to 7,000 feet, and then hold. If that all sounds very confusing to you, there's a nice little graphic here. Climb straight out on 345 degrees, just like that, until we reach 4,100 feet. As soon as we reach 4,100 feet, we make that left turn to 315 degrees until we intercept the 297 radial from, it's down here, see, Yankee Charlie. So what we need to keep in mind is we need to go ahead and program this in to our nav2 so that we're ready for a missed approach. So nav1 is going to be programmed into the ILS. Let's program Calgary's VOR 116.7 into our nav2, and that way if we have to fly the missed approach, we can just manually fly it, switch over to nav2, and when we intercept that 297 degree radial, that'll take us out to Rexub, and then we'll enter our holding pattern until otherwise advised by ATC. Since we're not using ATC, it's not going to really matter, but if we have to do the missed approach, we will. That being said, quick look as always at our frequency box. It's always in green. There's the ATIS tower on 118.40 if you're coming from the west, 118.875 if you're on the east. Not coming from, but if you're actually on the west or east. So which side are we on? North, east, south, west. We're landing on the westerly runway, so tower on 118.4 for us, ground on 121.9, and apron 1 on 121.3, and I'm not sure which apron we're going to yet. Again, not using ATC, but it's good to have to get into because eventually we're going to use the ATC. Alright, that was a pretty long approach briefing. I don't think there's anything else we need to really worry about in here except that circling in this area over here is prohibited. So we can't do any circling over here. We won't be. Nothing to worry about there. Let's do this. Alright, we'll be making our turn on to final approach here pretty soon. We're just about to gabble. Where we need to be at or above 6,500, and we're coming up on 6,500 here pretty quick. As you can see, our speed is finally working. Just for your information, it didn't actually unfreeze until we got below 10,000 feet. So when it unfroze, even though I had the throttles back, the speed jumped to like 330 knots. And so we probably got an overspeed more. We probably got a warning through ACARS for flying faster than 250 knots below 10,000 feet. That's what I was trying to say there. But all in all, not that big of a deal. It's not a game changer. So yeah, we'll be taking runway 34 left as planned from Gabble. I've already tuned the frequency into the nav radio, and we're right on top of it now. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the approach switch now so that it will intercept and track the localizer. I'm going to slow my speed down to 180 knots here. We're 2 miles from Gabble at this point. You can't really see it on here because it's only showing the I turned off the GPS. I had to switch over to nav, or not nav, but yeah, switch over to nav on the nav source. It's on VOR1 now, but there it is, turning and tracking the localizer at this point, and then it should hold 6,500 feet until this little diamond right here gets centered up, at which time we will be on the glide slope. That being said, our speed for landing is going to be around 125 knots, so I'm going to go ahead and start slowing us on down to 130. And we can start bringing in some flaps, get that first setting in there. That'll help slow us down a little bit. And as soon as we hit that glide slope, we'll go ahead and throw the gear down, and that'll slow us down a little bit more. We're just about on that glide slope now. And there's not much else to do. I mean, that's flying the approach. We briefed it. We know what we're going to be doing here. We had to mess with it a little bit as a result of the not being able to get all the waypoints into here, so I had to do some direct twos. There's our capture of the glide, so let's go ahead and put the gear down at this time and throw in another setting of flaps. And right now, the non-existent auto throttle for the CRJ that exists only in the FSX default version is controlling our speed for us. And we're going to go ahead and allow it to do that. That is just fine. So, yeah, you can see we have quite the crosswind here. As a matter of fact, that's a huge crosswind. Looks like it's about 25 knots, which is probably right on the edge of the maximum crosswind for this aircraft. Now, that being said, there is another runway that runs maybe a little more in that direction, but it's extremely short. It's not going to work for our purposes in this aircraft. So basically, we're just going to have to suck it up, which should prove interesting, to say the least. Should be a good time, right? Yeah, my brain's not working, guys. Don't really know why. Just kind of in my own little world here right now. I don't know. This flight's been a little funky, had some issues. You know, it's dealing with default aircraft. It's kind of a pain. You know, the running into icing conditions, I should have known that. I should have paid more attention to the weather and what the potential was. I didn't. My bad. It happens. But yeah, we're on short final here, so we might as well go ahead and fly this aircraft in. Let's get the thing landed. That's one of the beauties of virtual aviation is, you know, you make little mistakes like that. It does happen, but there's no real-world consequences, so that's kind of nice. We burned about the same amount of fuel for this flight. Well, actually, quite a good bit less, almost 1,000 pounds less for a flight that was just a little longer than the last one. So that's good. The wind is gusty. It's gusting between 14 and 30 knots. 14 and 30 knots. Goodness gracious. That's why the airplane's kicking all over the place. So this should be lots of fun because there's no auto land in this aircraft. Alright, we're not going to be auto landing this thing. We're going to have to take control of it. But what I am going to do, I'm going to play it smart, and I'm going to let the autopilot fly it, you know, until we get pretty close to the ground here. We've got a nice long runway in front of us, plenty of room to work with for the landing here. And I'm seeing now, for whatever reason, it wasn't showing. It shows up in the sim, but it wasn't showing up for an option for my approach. If you look right here, that runway's plenty long, and that would have been almost straight into the wind, which would have alleviated some of this crosswind excitement. Oh well. That's what happens, right? Yeah, we got full flaps here. It's going to be an interesting landing. Look around, though. Look. Well, we got just a second here. Look at what are we looking at here? this is Orbix, guys. Look, looks nice, right? It looks really good. They do a good job. I mean, it looks like you're coming into the proper airport. And I don't think, I know they always do a couple of airports in the area. I don't know if they did any of these. I don't know if they did this one. But, yeah, looks fantastic. Let's go ahead and take that autopilot off now. The wind, as you can see, is shifting dramatically. There's the autopilot's off. Let me turn the speed hold off. If you don't do that, you end up in trouble.
300.
Oh, boy. That airplane did not fly that well, did it? That's all right.
200.
We're good. Let's listen and land it.
$100. 50. 40. 40. 30. 30. 20. 20. 10. 10. 10. 10.
Boy, this yoke is touchy, huh? Come on. Oh, I floated it a lot, huh? There she is. Boy, talk about floating it. Throw those reverse in there. Why is it? That's that crosswind's pulling it way off to the left there. There we go. Woo! That was a bit of an adventure, to say the least. There it wasn't. Look, the wind's still trying to pull it to the left. That was weird. You know, the autopilot looked like it was doing just fine, and then it just seemed to have lost its mind or something and just shot off to the left over there, and we had to correct. If we didn't correct that we wouldn't have made the runway there. Ah, the joys of default aircraft. Get those landing lights off. You know, I haven't been doing it because I don't have it in front of me. We didn't do a landing checklist or anything, did we? Awesome. That's just fantastic, isn't it? So landing checklist woulda, coulda, shoulda involved making sure the gear's down, landing lights are on, speed is set, spoilers armed. Now there's no auto spoilers on this aircraft either, so we didn't have that. Like, this guy doesn't care that I'm here. He's just like, oh, I'm gonna keep on going. Do 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 do. Gotta love WestJet, right? Yeah, whatever, dude. Here we go. Okay, so we'll taxi up over here. Yeah, no, I didn't do a landing checklist. After landing checklist, you know, you clean up the aircraft, landing lights off once you're off the runway. We can turn the we can turn the APU on if we're going to do a quick turn, those sort of things. No checklist in front of me. A little frustrating, to be honest with you. I think maybe after this video, I'm gonna go find a checklist. I'm gonna try to anyway, because I like doing it a little cleaner. You know what I mean? That sounded dirty, but sorry. I like doing it a little more by the book. You know, I want to do things as much as we can. I want to do them the right way. I mean, granted, it's hard in a default aircraft. It is a sim, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not feeling right doing things without the checklist. I very much would prefer to have the checklist in front of me and to use those for taking care of business, you know. And I was really starting to enjoy that. I know the first couple of flights we did, we didn't use checklists, and then we went to them, and then now we kind of don't have them. I don't like that. So we're going to have to figure that out. All right, I'm done yapping for a minute. I'll see you guys when we get this thing parked. We're going to shut down real quick. All right, here we are at the gate, ready to shut the aircraft down and then take care of our A cars. Let's get those taxi lights off. I was about to say landing lights. And we're not going to even turn on the APU, so we'll just go ahead and kill the gas for the engines there. I know it's not gas, it's fuel. I know. Generator's off. Main battery off. There she goes, quiet as a mouse. Well, let's pop up our A cars real quick. I've already put the parking brake on, which means we have arrived. We were scheduled for an hour and 30 minutes. We got here a little quick, hour and 16 minutes. That's new for us, right? We were late on like all of our PFO flights, and now all of a sudden we're starting to show up early. That's kind of weird, the way those... It's like you can see through it all of a sudden. See that? What is it? That's weird, isn't it? Or is that supposed to be a reflection? Maybe it's a reflection. I don't know. Anyway, back to A-cars. Let's go ahead and end the flight here. Bam, flight is ended. Says we're connected. We're good to go. File the PIREP. PIREP is filed. Done's are done. Close that out. Yes, I'm sure I want to exit. And that's it for the flight itself. We're getting ready to hop on over to the website here. As always, before we do that, I appreciate you guys flying with me. As you can see, I did not park in a proper space there. I didn't even park properly. It looks terrible. This flight was what I like to call a disaster. Sorry, guys. Anyway, either way, I hope you enjoyed the flight. If you did, please give it a thumbs up down below. And as always, please subscribe to my channel. We're moving on up. We're up to like 122, 123 subscribers now. And I just want to say to all of you who have subscribed to my channel, thank you very much. I do appreciate the support. It really just motivates me to do more videos. So if you have any suggestions, comments, concerns, moans, groans, or complaints about this particular video, don't bother. I'm not listening. Just kidding. Please leave them down in the comments. I'll be more than happy to address them at my earliest convenience. Other than that, let's hop over to the website and then bid adieu. And here we are back on the website. This flight's been a little bit frustrating for me. My apologies. But hey, there's the world of FSX, right? Sometimes you just got to deal with things that are kind of a bit of a pain. And yeah, I did get word from one of my subscribers. I will not mention him by name only because I don't know if he wants me to, but he said that the news he heard was Aerosoft has put their CRJ into beta testing at this time. Whether or not that's true, I don't know, but if it is, the anticipation is that it will be released relatively soon, so we might not have to deal with the default aircraft too long. That being said, still had a good time with the flight. Down to 75 hours and change, or 74 and change there. Let's take a quick look at the PIREP, see where we stand. Good profit percentage on this one, 64.78%. Amazing what happens when you load less fuel. So other than that, everything's good to go. Again, it was scheduled for an hour and 30 minutes. Took us an hour and 16. PIREP was accepted and auto-approved. So we're good to go on everything there. We did get the one warning. Excuse me. We did get the one warning, which was the overspeed. Well, it wasn't an overspeed. It was excessive speed below 10,000 feet, and that was because of the icing conditions. So all of that being said, it's not a horrible flight, just not the best. It can be a little difficult when you're messing with the default aircraft, especially when you're used to the more complex, the complex aircraft that have proper VNAV and all that. That's not to say that a CRJ really works the same as a 737, because it doesn't, as we saw with a little bit of complexity in that Wilco Next Gen. But yeah, we're not messing with that thing anymore. So everybody, send a message to Aerosoft and say, release your CRJ now so that Captain Mac can fly it. Yeah, that's probably not going to work, right? Been a good time, guys. I appreciate it as always. And I do hope that you enjoyed this video. I thank you for all the comments and the compliments, and I look forward to putting together the next one. And I will see you guys up in the sky once again. And just remember, keep the blue side up unless you're performing aerobatics, which is only allowed with permission from ATC. You guys have a great day.